Hello, dear English learners. Welcome to English in Advance. I am your host, Jessica, and I am so happy you have decided to join me today for this extensive session dedicated to taking your English fluency to the next level. Today, we are going to dive deep into one of the most common and important topics in daily conversation, talking about your weekend. If you have ever walked into work on a Monday morning or met a friend for coffee on a Tuesday and felt stuck when they asked you what you did over the weekend, then this episode is perfect for you. We are going to look at real examples, useful vocabulary, and the natural flow of conversation so that you can speak with confidence and connect better with the people around you. Before we get started, please remember to subscribe to our channel English in Advance and turn on the notifications so you never miss a lesson that could change the way you speak English. Let us begin by thinking about why talking about the weekend is so important. In English-speaking cultures, asking about the weekend is not just a request for information, but it is a social ritual. It is a way to build a connection with your colleagues, your classmates, or your neighbors. It is often called small talk, but it has a big impact on your relationships. When someone asks you how your weekend was, they are really saying, "I want to be friendly with you," and "I am interested in your life." This means you need to be ready with an answer that is not just a single word, like good or fine, because that kills the conversation. We want to open the door to a chat, not close it. Let us start with the questions you might hear. The most basic one is simply, "How was your weekend?" You will hear this constantly. A variation of this is, "Did you do anything nice this weekend?" Notice the tone here. It is casual and light. If you are talking to a close friend, they might be more direct and ask, "What did you get up to this weekend?" The phrase "get up to" is a phrasal verb that just means do. So when they say, "What did you get up to?" they are just asking, "What did you do?" It is a very natural and native way to ask. I want you to try saying that in your head right now. What did you get up to? It sounds friendly and relaxed. Now let us move on to how you can answer these questions. We will look at 3 different types of weekends. The first type is the relaxing weekend. This is very common because we are all busy and tired. If you stayed home and rested, you do not have to say, "I did nothing," because that sounds a bit boring or negative. Instead, you can use phrases that make relaxing sound active and positive. You might say, "It was very relaxing, thanks. I just stayed in and recharged my batteries." Notice that expression, "to recharge my batteries." It is an excellent idiom that means you rested so you have energy for the new week. It sounds much better than saying, "I slept." Let us try another example for a quiet weekend. You could say, "It was lovely. I had a very low-key weekend." The expression low-key is perfect for B1 and B2 learners. It means quiet, not busy, and very chill. You can say, "I had a low-key weekend just catching up on some reading and watching movies." Using the phrasal verb catching up on shows that you are doing something you did not have time for during the busy week. It adds a nice detail to your sentence. I want you to imagine right now that you had a quiet weekend. How would you describe it? You could say, "It was peaceful. I took it easy." To take it easy is another wonderful phrase. It means you did not stress and you did not do too much work. Now let us look at the second type of weekend, which is the busy or productive weekend. Maybe you did a lot of chores or you went on a trip. If your weekend was full of activity, you can say, "It was really busy, but good. I got a lot done." This phrase, "got a lot done," is very common. It implies you completed many tasks. Maybe you cleaned your house or did the grocery shopping, or perhaps you studied English. You can list your activities using the past simple tense. Remember that when we talk about the finished weekend, we use the past simple. I went to the market. I cleaned the apartment. I met up with friends. Be careful with your irregular verbs here. Go becomes went. Meet becomes met. See becomes saw. It is very easy to slip up and say, I see my friend yesterday, but you must say, I saw my friend. Let us practice a sequence for a busy weekend. You might say, on Saturday I went hiking with some friends, which was tiring but fun. Then on Sunday I did some meal prep for the week. Notice how I use the word then to connect the 2 days. It helps the listener follow your story. You can also use words like afterwards or later on. For example, we went for brunch and afterwards we walked around the park. This makes your speech flow like a river rather than sounding like a robot listing facts. I want you to listen to the rhythm of that sentence again. We went for brunch and afterwards we walked around the park. It sounds natural and fluent. The third type of weekend is the social weekend. This is when you spend time with people. You might say, I had a great time. I caught up with some old friends from university. Here we see the phrasal verb catch up again, but with people it means to talk and exchange news after a long time of not seeing each other. It is different from catching up on sleep. Catching up with friends is a very positive social activity. You might also say, we went out for dinner to a new Italian place downtown. When we talk about restaurants or cafes, we often call them places in casual English. That burger place or that new sushi place. It sounds very authentic. Sometimes your weekend might not be good. Maybe you were sick or you had to work. It is okay to be honest, but usually we keep it brief so we do not bring the mood down too much. You could say, to be honest, it was a bit tough. I was under the weather. To be under the weather is a classic idiom that means feeling sick. It is a soft way to say you were not feeling well. Or you could say it was okay, but I had to work, so it did not really feel like a weekend. Most people will respond with sympathy and say, oh, I am sorry to hear that, or that is a shame. Now let us focus on how to extend the conversation. When you answer, you should not just stop. You should add a little detail, often called a hook, that the other person can comment on. For example, instead of just saying, I went to the cinema, you should say, I went to the cinema to see that new action movie. This gives the other person a chance to ask, was it good? Or I heard that movie is great. This is the secret to fluency. It is not just about grammar, it is about keeping the ball rolling in the conversation. After you answer, it is polite to throw the ball back. You do this by asking, and you. How was yours, or what did you get up to? This simple addition makes you sound polite and interested. I would like to tell you a short story about a typical weekend so you can hear all these phrases in context. Listen carefully to the verbs and the flow. Last weekend was a mix of busy and relaxing for me. On Saturday morning, I woke up early and went for a run, which really woke me up. Afterwards, I met my sister for coffee and we caught up on family news. It was great to see her. Then I spent the afternoon running errands like grocery shopping and fixing a broken shelf. By the evening, I was exhausted, so I just ordered takeout and watched a series. On Sunday, I decided to take it easy. I slept in a bit, which was wonderful. To sleep in means to sleep later than usual. I spent most of the day reading and preparing for the week ahead. It wasn't exciting, but it was exactly what I needed. Did you hear how I structured that story? I started with a general summary saying it was a mix of busy and relaxing. Then I went through the timeline using Saturday morning afterwards, then by the evening, and finally Sunday. I used adjectives like exhausted and wonderful to describe my feelings. I used phrasal verbs like caught up and sleep in. This is the level of detail you want to aim for. You do not need to speak for 10 minutes, but 3 or 4 sentences linked together sound fantastic. Let us practice some pronunciation and intonation. When you say, "It was great, notice how my voice goes up and down," it is not flat. If you say it was great in a flat voice, you sound sarcastic or bored. You want to sound enthusiastic. Try to emphasize the adjectives. It was really relaxing. I was so tired. We had such a good time. Putting stress on words like really and such adds emotion to your English. It shows you are engaged with what you are saying. Another important aspect of talking about the weekend is handling the question when you really did absolutely nothing and you feel a bit embarrassed about it. In English culture, especially in the US or UK, there is sometimes pressure to be productive. But do not worry. You can own your laziness. You can say, "I did absolutely nothing and it was glorious." Using a strong positive adjective like glorious shows you enjoyed your rest and you are not ashamed. Or you can say, "I had a lazy weekend. I practically lived in my pajamas." This paints a funny and relatable picture. Everyone loves a lazy weekend sometimes, so do not be afraid to share that. Now let us move beyond simple lists of activities and learn how to describe your experiences with color and emotion. This is the difference between a B1 speaker who just communicates facts and a B2 or C1 speaker who connects with feelings. Let us start by talking about hobbies, because weekends are often when we pursue our passions. When you talk about your hobbies, do not just say, "I played tennis" or "I read a book." Try to describe the experience. For example, if you love reading, you might say, "I spent Saturday afternoon curled up on the sofa with a gripping novel." Notice the phrase "curled up." It paints a picture of being cozy and comfortable. And the word gripping describes the book as so interesting that you could not put it down. This is much more evocative than saying, "The book was good." If you are into fitness or sports, you can use more dynamic language. Instead of saying, "I went to the gym," you could say, "I hit the gym early on Saturday to burn off some steam." To burn off steam is a fantastic idiom. It means to get rid of excess energy or stress through physical activity. It tells the listener that you exercise for your mental health as much as your physical health. If you like running, you might say, "I went for a long run along the river." The fresh air was exactly what I needed to clear my head. To clear my head is another useful phrase, meaning to stop worrying and think clearly. These small phrases add a human element to your story. Now let us shift gears to one of the most popular topics of conversation in the world, which is food. We all have to eat, and on weekends we often eat for pleasure rather than just fuel. Describing a meal is a great way to make small talk. If you cooked at home, avoid just saying, "I cooked dinner." Try saying, "I tried out a new recipe for lasagna." It was a bit of a disaster at first, but it turned out delicious in the end. This is a mini story. It has a beginning, a middle with a problem, and a happy ending. People love hearing about small kitchen disasters because it is relatable. You could also say, "I whipped up a quick salad for lunch." To whip up means to make something quickly and easily. It makes you sound very proficient in the kitchen. If you went out to eat, the vocabulary changes a little. We often talk about the atmosphere of the restaurant as much as the food. You might say, we checked out that new Thai place on Main Street. The vibe was really lively and the food was to die for. When we say something is to die for, we mean it was incredibly delicious. It is a strong exaggeration, but very common in casual speech. You might also comment on the service. The service was a bit slow, but the company was great, so we did not mind. This shows you are a patient and positive person. I want to pause here and look at a specific grammar point that helps with storytelling, and that is the use of used to versus the past simple. Sometimes when we talk about weekends, we compare our current weekend to how we used to spend weekends in the past. For example, you might say, I used to go clubbing every Saturday night when I was younger, but now I much prefer a quiet dinner with friends. We use used to for past habits that are not true anymore. This adds depth to your conversation because it shares a bit of your personal history. It tells the listener how you have changed. Try thinking of a sentence right now. What did you used to do on weekends that you do not do now? Maybe you used to sleep until noon. Maybe you used to play football. Sharing these changes creates a bond with the listener. Let us talk about day trips and getting out of the city. This is very common for the weekend. We often use phrasal verbs for travel. We might say we decided to get away for the weekend. To get away means to leave your usual environment for a break. You might say, we headed down to the coast for some sea air. To head down or head up just means to go. It sounds more dynamic than went. We headed down to the beach. We headed up to the mountains. If you went for a drive, you could say we went for a scenic drive through the countryside. The word scenic means having beautiful natural scenery. It is a lovely B2 level adjective. When you describe a trip, try to focus on one specific moment that stood out. This is a great tip for fluency. Instead of listing everything I drove there, I parked, I walked, I ate, I came home, pick one highlight. You could say the highlight of the trip was finding this tiny hidden cafe with the best coffee I have ever tasted. By focusing on the highlight, you give the listener something specific to visualize. It saves you from boring them with too many details and keeps the conversation sharp and interesting. Now I want to address the parents listening or those who have family responsibilities. Weekends with children are very different from weekends without them, and your language should reflect that. You might say it was a full-on weekend with the kids. Full-on means very busy and intense. You can say we spent Saturday shuttling the kids between soccer practice and piano lessons. The verb shuttling suggests moving back and forth frequently like a shuttle bus. It perfectly describes the busy life of a parent. But you can balance it with a positive sentiment. You might say it was chaotic, but we managed to get some quality time together on Sunday evening. Quality time is a key phrase in English. It means time where you are truly paying attention to each other, not just being in the same room. Let us practice a slightly longer narrative now to bring all these elements together. Listen to how I weave together feelings, activities, and food. Here is the story. I had a really nice weekend, actually. On Saturday, I wanted to be productive, so I tackled some gardening that I had been putting off for weeks. To put off means to delay. It felt good to finally get my hands dirty. In the evening, my husband and I decided to treat ourselves, so we ordered sushi and watched a documentary. Sunday was much lazier. We just pottered around the house in the morning. To potter around means to do little easy tasks in a relaxed way. Later on, we went for a stroll in the park before the rain started. All in all, it was just what the doctor ordered. Did you catch that final idiom, just what the doctor ordered? It did not mean I saw a doctor. It means the weekend was exactly perfect for my needs. If you were tired, it was restful. If you were bored, it was exciting. It is a wonderful, positive way to summarize your experience. I also used the phrase putting off. We all have things we put off. Cleaning the windows, organizing files. Using these phrasal verbs makes you sound like a native speaker because native speakers love phrasal verbs. I want to talk a little bit about the art of listening. Conversation is a two-way street. When someone tells you about their weekend, you need to show you are listening. We call this active listening. You can do this by using short interjections. Phrases like, "Oh, really? That sounds nice. Wow, amazing. Oh no, what a shame." These are small words, but they keep the energy alive. If you stay completely silent, the other person might think you are bored or you do not understand. So if someone says, "I went hiking," you can say, "Oh, lovely. Where did you go?" If they say, "I was sick," you say, "Oh no, are you feeling better now?" Let us try a simulation. I am going to tell you a sentence, and I want you to respond with an active listening phrase. Ready? Here is my sentence. I finally finished painting the living room this weekend. What would you say? You could say, "Wow, that is a big job," or "It must look great now," or simply, "Good for you." Any of these shows that you understand the effort involved. Let us try another one. My car broke down on the way to the cinema. What is your reaction? You should sound sympathetic. "Oh no, that is terrible." Or "What a nightmare." Using the word nightmare for a bad situation is very common in English. It was a nightmare. Now let us focus on a specific structure that B2 learners should try to master, which is talking about future hopes based on past weekends. Sometimes we talk about what we did not do but want to do next time. You could say, "I did not get a chance to visit the museum this weekend, so I am definitely making time for it next week." To make time means to clear your schedule for something important. Or you could say, "I was hoping to go to the beach, but the weather was awful, so we took a rain check." To take a rain check is a classic idiom from baseball. It means we canceled the plan now, but we will do it at a later date. Use this when you have to cancel plans politely. "I am so sorry I have to work late. Can I take a rain check on dinner?" We have covered the standard relaxing and busy weekends. But life is not always standard, is it? Sometimes we have special events, holidays, or weekends where absolutely everything goes wrong. And believe it or not, talking about a disaster weekend can be one of the best ways to bond with people because everyone understands frustration. Today, we are going to look at how to handle these special scenarios, and we will also dip our toes into some slightly more advanced grammar that will make you sound incredibly sophisticated. Let us start with the concept of the long weekend. In the UK, they often call this a bank holiday, and in the US, it is a public holiday. This is when you have Monday or Friday off work. When this happens, the question changes slightly. People might ask, "Did you do anything for the long weekend?" The pressure to do something exciting is a bit higher here. A great phrase to use is "make the most of it." You might say, "It was a long weekend, so we decided to make the most of it and drive to the coast." To make the most of something means to use the opportunity as well as possible. Conversely, if you wasted it, you can say, "Honestly, I kind of wasted the long weekend just watching TV," but sometimes that is exactly what you need. When talking about travel on a long weekend, you will often hear people talk about the traffic because everyone is leaving the city at the same time. You can say the traffic was a nightmare. We were stuck in a bumper-to-bumper jam for hours. Bumper-to-bumper is a vivid adjective phrase describing traffic so heavy that the cars are touching. It is a great way to add drama to your story. You might also say, we hit the road early to beat the traffic. To hit the road is a classic idiom meaning to start a journey. To beat the traffic means to leave early enough to avoid the congestion. Now let us move on to special occasions like weddings, birthday parties, or anniversaries. These are gold mines for conversation. If you went to a wedding, do not just say it was good. Talk about the atmosphere. You could say, it was a beautiful ceremony. The bride looked stunning and the reception was so much fun. The reception is the party after the wedding. You might add, we danced the night away. To dance the night away implies you stayed late and had a fantastic time. If you met new people, you can say I did a lot of mingling. To mingle means to walk around and talk to different people at a party. It is a very social verb. I mingled with some of the groom's friends. Sometimes you might host the party. In this case, we often use the verb to throw. I threw a surprise party for my sister. It sounds much more dynamic than I had a party. If it was a success, you can say everyone seemed to have a blast. To have a blast is casual English for having a great time. If it was a lot of work, you might say, hosting was stressful, but it was worth it to see everyone happy. This structure, it was stressful, but worth it, is excellent for balancing negative effort with a positive result. Now I want to talk about something very human, the bad weekend. The weekend where the car broke down, you lost your wallet, or it rained for 48 hours straight. In English, we often use humor to cope with these situations. We do not just complain, we turn it into a story. You might start by saying, you will not believe the weekend I had. This immediately hooks the listener. They want to know what happened. Then you can say, it was a comedy of errors. A comedy of errors is a phrase used to describe a situation where many things went wrong in a funny or ridiculous way. For example, listen to this story. I planned a romantic picnic for my husband, but everything that could go wrong did go wrong. First, we got a flat tire on the way to the park. Then, just as we sat down to eat, it started pouring with rain. We ended up eating wet sandwiches in the car. It was a disaster at the time, but we are laughing about it now. Notice the structure here. First, then, we ended up. This sequence helps the listener follow the chaos, and the phrase pouring with rain is a strong collocation. We do not usually say strong rain, we say heavy rain, or it was pouring. When you tell a story like this, you can use the third conditional grammar structure to talk about regrets or how things could have been different. This is a B2 to C1 level skill. You might say, if I had checked the weather forecast, we would have stayed home. Let us break that down. If I had checked implies I did not check. We would have stayed implies we did not stay. It expresses a hypothetical past. Try to create one right now in your head. Think of a mistake you made last weekend. Maybe you bought the wrong milk. You can say, if I had looked at the label, I would have bought the right milk. Using this structure shows a very high level of fluency and control. Another useful phrase for plans that did not happen is fell through. We were going to go to the cinema, but our plans fell through because the babysitter canceled. To fall through means to fail or be canceled. It is a very common phrasal verb. You can also say we had to call it off. To call off means to cancel something deliberately. We called off the picnic because of the rain. Let us practice expressing disappointment politely. Sometimes you do not want to tell a funny story. You just want to express that it was not great. You can say it was not the best weekend, to be honest. This is a very British way of being understated. It means it was bad, but you are being polite about it. Or you could say it was a bit of a washout. A washout literally means rained out, but metaphorically it means a disappointment or a failure. My birthday party was a bit of a washout because nobody could come. Now, how do you respond when someone tells you a bad story? You need to show empathy. You can use phrases like, "Oh, you poor thing. This sounds very caring." Or, "That sounds incredibly frustration." You can also ask questions to let them vent. To vent means to let out negative emotions. You can ask, "So what did you do then?" Or, "How did you manage to fix it?" This encourages them to finish the story. If they say they were sick, you can say, "I hope you are back on your feet now." To be back on your feet means to be recovered and healthy again. I want to switch gears and talk about the Sunday scaries. This is a modern slang term that has become very popular. The Sunday scaries refers to that feeling of anxiety or dread you get on Sunday evening when you realize the weekend is over and work starts tomorrow. You might hear someone say, "I have got a bad case of the Sunday scaries." It is a light-hearted way to talk about anxiety. You can respond by saying, "I know the feeling." I am trying to ignore the fact that it is Monday tomorrow. This builds a lot of rapport because almost everyone feels this way. Let us look at a specific scenario. The DIY or do-it-yourself weekend. In many English-speaking cultures, weekends are for fixing the house. You might say, "I spent the whole weekend assembling furniture. It was a nightmare. I had leftover screws, and I do not know where they go." This is a universal experience. You can talk about home improvement. "I did a bit of DIY. I repainted the kitchen." If you hired someone to do it, you use the causative structure. "I had the kitchen painted." Notice the difference. "I painted the kitchen" means I held the brush. "I had the kitchen painted" means I paid someone else. This is a crucial grammar distinction. If you say "I cut my hair," it implies you used the scissors yourself. If you went to a salon, you must say "I had my hair cut." Let us practice this causative structure because it is so useful for weekend updates. Imagine you took your car to the mechanic. You would say "I had my car serviced." Imagine you paid someone to clean your house. "I had my house cleaned." It sounds sophisticated and accurate. Try to think of one thing you paid for recently. Did you have your food delivered? Yes, I had pizza delivered on Saturday night. Now, let us talk about the art of changing the subject. You've chatted about the weekend for 3 or 4 minutes. That is usually enough. You need to transition back to the reason you are talking. You can use transition signals. Phrases like, "Anyway are perfect for this." "Anyway, enough about me. How can I help you today?" Or, "Anyway, shall we look at this report?" The word "anyway" acts as a bridge. It signals that the social part is over and the business part is beginning. It is not rude, it is professional. You can also say, "Right, let us get down to business." This is a bit more direct and is good for meetings. I want to give you a listening challenge. I am going to describe a weekend using several idioms we have learned. See if you can spot them. Here we go. My weekend was a bit of a mixed bag. Saturday was great. I caught up with my brother and we went to a football game. We had a blast. But Sunday was a washout. I was supposed to go hiking, but the plan fell through because of the storm. So I just decided to recharge my batteries and binge watch a new show. I had a bit of the Sunday scaries last night, but I am ready to go now. Did you catch them? A mixed bag means a mix of good and bad things. We had a blast means we had fun. A washout means a disappointment or rainy. Fell through means canceled. Recharge batteries means rest. And Sunday scaries means dreading Monday. If you understood that paragraph, you are doing fantastically well. We have spent a lot of time looking back at what we did in the past, but now it is time to look forward. The weekend is not just a memory, it is a possibility. It is something we plan for, dream about, and organize. In this section, we are going to master the social dance of making plans, inviting people out, and, perhaps most importantly, learning how to say no without losing a friend. This is crucial social English that you will use constantly in your personal and professional life. Let us start with the art of the invitation. When you want to ask someone to do something with you, you do not want to be too direct or aggressive. You rarely say, "Come to the cinema with me." It sounds like an order. Instead, we usually start by checking availability. You might ask, "Do you have any plans for the weekend?" Or, "Are you up to anything this weekend?" The phrase "up to anything" is very common and casual. If they say no, then you have an opening to make your suggestion. A wonderful way to make a suggestion is using the phrase, "I was thinking of," followed by the ing form of the verb. For example, "I was thinking of checking out that new art exhibit on Saturday. Would you like to join me?" This structure, "I was thinking of," is soft and polite. It implies that it is just an idea, not a rigid plan, so the other person feels comfortable saying yes or no. Another great phrase is, "How about?" or "What about?" For example, "How about we go for a hike if the weather is nice?" Or, "What about grabbing some lunch?" If you want to sound even more casual and low pressure, you can say, "Do you fancy?" followed by a noun or ing verb. This is very common in British English. Do you fancy a coffee? Or, do you fancy going for a walk? It means, would you like, but it feels much friendlier and less formal. I want you to try it. Imagine asking a friend to see a movie. You could say, "Do you fancy seeing a movie tonight?" It rolls off the tongue very naturally. Now, let us talk about accepting an invitation. This is the easy part. If you want to go, you can show enthusiasm. Instead of just saying yes, try saying, "That sounds fun," or "I'd love to," or "Count me in." The phrase "count me in" is a fantastic idiom that means include me in the plan. It shows you are committed and excited. You could also say, "I'm down for that." This is slang, often used by younger speakers, meaning I am willing to do that. However, the tricky part of social English is declining an invitation. How do you say no without being rude? In English-speaking cultures, saying a direct no is often considered too harsh. We use what I call the politeness sandwich. The top slice of bread is a positive statement. The meat in the middle is the no and the reason, and the bottom slice of bread is a suggestion for the future. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone asks you to dinner, but you are tired and broke. You cannot just say, "No, I don't want to." Instead, you use the sandwich. You say, "That sounds lovely," positive slice, "but I'm actually really exhausted this week and I need to save some money." The reason, "Maybe we can do it next month?" Future suggestion. See how much softer that feels? It protects the other person's feelings. Another very useful phrase for declining is, "I'd love to, but I can't make it." To make it means to attend. "I'm afraid I can't make it on Saturday." You can also use the phrase we learned in the last section, "Can I take a rain check?" This is the ultimate polite refusal. because it promises that you actually do want to see them, just not right now. Let us practice this. I am going to invite you to a party on Friday night. Hey, I'm having a few people over on Friday. Do you want to come? Now, imagine you have to work early on Saturday. How do you decline? Pause and think. You could say, "Thanks so much for the invite. I'd love to come, but I have to work early on Saturday, so I need an early night. Have a great time, though." This is perfect. It is friendly, honest, and polite. Now, let us move on to the grammar of the future. We often use the present continuous tense for fixed arrangements. If you have a plan with a specific time or person, you say, "I am playing tennis on Saturday." You do not usually say, "I will play tennis." Will is for decisions made in the moment. "I am playing tennis" shows it is organized. If you want to sound like a native speaker, use the present continuous for your social calendar. "I'm meeting my mom." "We're driving to the beach." "I'm having dinner with John." But for B2 and C1 learners, let us push this further. We can use the future continuous tense to describe an action in progress at a specific time in the future. The structure is will be plus verbing. For example, this time next week, I will be lying on a beach in Spain. This is a beautiful descriptive tense. It helps the listener visualize the future moment. "Don't call me at 10 a.m. on Saturday because I will be sleeping." This implies the action of sleeping will already be happening. We can also use the future perfect tense, although it is less common for weekends. This is will have plus the past participle. We use it to talk about something that will be finished before a specific time. "By Sunday evening, I will have finished my entire essay." It emphasizes the completion of the task. "By the time you arrive, I will have cooked dinner." These structures add a layer of sophistication to your English that examiners and native speakers notice immediately. Let us return to the social side of things. Sometimes plans are vague. You are not sure yet. You can use phrases like, "I'm playing it by ear," which we discussed earlier, or you can say, "It's up in the air." If something is up in the air, it means it is undecided. "My plans for Sunday are still up in the air. I might go to the beach, or I might stay home." You can also say, "I'll let you know." This is a very useful phrase when you need time to decide. "That sounds fun. Let me check my calendar and I'll let you know." What if you want to confirm a plan? You can say, "Shall we firm up our plans?" To firm up means to make something concrete and definite. Let's pencil it in. To pencil something in means to make a provisional plan that can be changed later, because pencil can be erased. Let's pencil in dinner for Friday and confirm on Thursday. This is very common in busy cities where schedules change often. Let us talk about anticipation. The feeling of looking forward to the weekend is universal. The most common phrase is, obviously, "I'm looking forward to it." But be careful with the grammar here. To is a preposition here, so it is followed by a noun or an ing verb. We say, "I am looking forward to seeing you," not, "I am looking forward to see you." This is a classic mistake. Always remember, looking forward to something. "I'm looking forward to the party." "I'm looking forward to sleeping." If you are very excited, you can say, "I can't wait." "I can't wait for the concert." Or, "I'm counting down the days." This is a great idiom. "It's been such a long week, I am counting down the days until Friday." It shows you are desperate for the break. On the other hand, if you are dreading something, like a visit to the dentist or a difficult meeting, you can say, I'm not looking forward to it at all, or I'm dreading it. I have to help my friend move house on Saturday and I'm dreading all the heavy lifting. I want to share a little dialogue simulation with you to hear how friends make plans naturally. Listen to the back and forth flow. Person A, hey, have you got much on this weekend? Person B, not really, just a few errands. Why, what's up? Person A, well, I was thinking of trying that new burger place downtown on Saturday night. Do you fancy coming along? Person B, oh, I've heard great things about that place. I'd love to, but I'm actually supposed to be helping my dad fix his car on Saturday evening. Person A, no worries. What about Sunday lunch instead? Person B, Sunday works for me. I'm free all afternoon. Shall we say 1 p.m.? Person A, perfect. It's a date. I'll book a table. Did you notice the flow? Person A checks availability. Have you got much on? Person B signals they are free. Not really. Person A suggests, I was thinking of. Person B declines politely with a reason, I'd love to, but. Person A offers an alternative. What about? Person B accepts. Sunday works for me. And person A confirms. It's a date. It's a date is a friendly expression, meaning the plan is confirmed. It does not necessarily mean a romantic date. Let us break down the phrase, what's up? In this context, it simply means, why do you ask? Or, what is happening? It is a very common informal opener. Also notice, no worries. This is the standard casual response to a refusal or a problem. It means, it is okay. Don't worry about it. I want to address a specific cultural point about punctuality. If you make a plan for 7 p.m., what time should you arrive? In English-speaking cultures, this varies. For a dinner reservation or a movie, you must be on time. But for a house party, arriving at exactly 7 p.m. might be too early. We often talk about being fashionably late. This means arriving 15 or 20 minutes after the start time, so you do not look too eager. However, if you are going to be late, you must communicate. You can send a text saying, I'm running a bit late. To run late is the standard phrase. I'm running 10 minutes late. Or, I'm stuck in traffic, be there soon. Let us practice the vocabulary of preparation. Before the weekend, we often have to prepare. You might say, I need to get my ducks in a row before the weekend. This is a fantastic idiom. To get your ducks in a row means to organize your tasks and affairs, so you are ready. I want to finish this report so I can get my ducks in a row and enjoy the weekend stress-free. Or you might say, I'm clearing my decks. To clear the decks means to finish all pending work so you are free. I'm clearing the decks today so I don't have to think about work on Sunday. What about when plans change suddenly? This happens. You might get stood up. If you get stood up, it means you went to the meeting place and the other person never came. This is very rude and hurtful. He stood me up. Hopefully this does not happen to you. More commonly, someone might flake. To flake means to cancel at the last minute or be unreliable. He flaked on me again. A person who does this is called a flake. Don't invite John, he's such a flake. This is slang, but very common. If you are the one who has to cancel last minute, you need to be very apologetic. I am so incredibly sorry, but something has come up. Something has come up is the universal vague excuse for an emergency or unexpected event. I'm so sorry, something has come up and I can't make it. Can we reschedule? To reschedule is the formal verb for moving a plan to a new time. Now, I want to give you a practice scenario for your own speaking. Imagine you want to organize a picnic. I want you to formulate 3 sentences. Ask your friend if they are free on Sunday. Suggest going to the park for a picnic. Tell them you will bring the sandwiches. Pause and try to say these out loud. Did you do it? Here is a sample answer. Hey, are you free this Sunday? The weather looks great, so how about we go to the park for a picnic? I'll bring the sandwiches if you bring the drinks. Notice the conditional in the last sentence. I'll bring, if you bring. This is negotiating the plan, but conversation is rarely just about you and me. Often it is about other people. It is about sharing news, updating friends on mutual acquaintances, and recommending the amazing things we discovered. In this section, we are going to master the art of storytelling about others and how to give a recommendation that people will actually listen to. Let us start with sharing news about friends or family. This is often called gossiping, but it does not have to be negative. It is simply keeping the social circle connected. A great way to start this topic is with the phrase, "Did you hear about?" For example, did you hear about Sarah's weekend? She finally went skydiving. This grabs the listener's attention immediately. Another very common word we use when sharing secondhand information is apparently. This is a magic word for B2 and C1 learners. It means I heard this is true, but I did not see it myself. You might say, apparently, Tom and Lisa went to that expensive new restaurant and hated it. Using apparently protects you from stating a fact that might be wrong. It shows you are just the messenger. When we talk about what other people did, we often use reported speech. In grammar books, this can look terrifying, but in conversation, it is quite natural. If your friend John told you, "I am tired," you tell your other friend, "John said he was tired." We usually shift the tense back, but do not stress too much about the perfect grammar rules. The most important thing is the reporting verb. Instead of just saying, "He said try using he mentioned or he told me." For example, he mentioned that he was going to visit his parents, or she told me she had a great time at the concert. Sometimes we hear things from unclear sources. We have a fantastic idiom for this. I heard it through the grapevine. This means you heard a rumor or a piece of news pass from person to person. I heard it through the grapevine that the boss is planning a team-building weekend next month. It adds a bit of mystery and intrigue to your conversation. Another phrase is, "A little bird told me." This is used when you know a secret, but you do not want to say who told you. You might say, "A little bird told me it was your birthday this weekend." Let us look at how to speculate about other people's weekends. Maybe you saw a photo on social media, but you haven't spoken to them yet. You can use modals of deduction like must have and might have. If you saw a photo of your friend on a beach looking happy, you can say she must have had a wonderful time. Must have implies you are 90% sure. If you are less sure, you can use might have. They might have gone to the mountains, but I am not sure. This allows you to discuss people's lives without knowing all the facts, which is what most casual conversation is. Now, let us switch to one of the most useful skills you can have, giving recommendations. The weekend is when we consume culture. We watch movies, read books, try restaurants, and visit parks. On Monday, people want to know if they should do those things too. If you loved something, do not just say it was good. Use strong, persuasive language. You can say it is a must-see. We use this for movies or exhibitions. That new Marvel movie is a must-see. For a book, you can say it is a page-turner. This means it was so exciting you wanted to keep turning the pages. I read this thriller over the weekend and it was a total page-turner. If you are recommending a TV show, especially on Netflix or Amazon, we talk about binge watching. To binge watch means to watch many episodes in a row. You can say, it is so binge-worthy. I watched the whole season in one weekend. This is high praise. You can also say I was hooked from the first episode. To be hooked means you were addicted to it immediately. What about restaurants or cafes? If you found a great place that not many people know about, you can call it a hidden gem. This is a beautiful phrase. We found this little Italian place down a side street, and it is a real hidden gem. The food was authentic and cheap. Conversely, if you went somewhere famous but it was disappointing, you can call it a tourist trap. This describes a place that is expensive and crowded just for tourists. We went to that famous tower, but honestly, it was just a tourist trap. When you want to warn people away from something bad, you can say, it is not worth the hype. Hype is the excitement and advertising around something. If everyone says a movie is great, but you thought it was boring, you say, it is not worth the hype. Or you can simply say, I wouldn't bother if I were you. This is a polite way to tell someone to save their time or money. Did you see that new comedy? No, and I wouldn't bother if I were you. The jokes are terrible. Let us practice a dialogue where you are reviewing a restaurant. Imagine you went to a new burger place. Friend, did you try that new burger joint? You, yeah, I went on Saturday. Friend, was it any good? You, honestly, it was a bit overrated. The burgers were okay, but they were overpriced and the service was non-existent. I wouldn't rush back. Notice the phrase, I wouldn't rush back. This is a classic British understated way of saying, I will probably never go there again. It is polite, but clear. And notice the word overrated. This is the opposite of underrated. If something is better than people say, it is underrated. Let us talk about describing atmosphere. This is key for recommendations. You can say the place had a great vibe, or it was very cozy and intimate. Intimate is good for a date spot. If a place is loud and full of energy, you can say it was buzzing. We went to this bar on Friday and it was absolutely buzzing. This paints a picture of noise, people, and excitement. On the other hand, if it was empty and sad, you can say it was dead. We went for a drink, but the place was dead, so we left early. I want to touch on the phrase spoil it. When talking about movies or books, you must be careful not to give away the ending. This is called a spoiler. You can say I won't spoil it for you, but the ending is shocking. Or no spoilers, but you have to watch it. This shows you are considerate of their experience. Now let us combine these skills, talking about others and recommending things, into a story. Listen to how I weave these elements together. So, I caught up with my friend Sarah this weekend. She told me she had just come back from a trip to the Lake District. Apparently, the scenery was breathtaking, but she said the hotel was a bit of a letdown. She mentioned that the photos on the website looked amazing, but in reality, the room was tiny. However, she did recommend this incredible hiking trail nearby. She said it was tough, but worth it for the views. I'm thinking of giving it a go myself next month based on her recommendation. Did you hear the reported speech? She told me, she mentioned. Did you hear the review language? A letdown. A letdown is a noun meaning a disappointment. Breathtaking means very beautiful. Worth it means the reward was greater than the effort, and the phrase giving it a go means trying it. This is how native speakers construct a narrative. They mix their own intentions with the information they received from others. Let us talk about how to ask for recommendations. If you have a free weekend coming up, you might want advice. You can ask, do you have any tips for things to do in the city? Or can you recommend a good series to watch? A very natural way to ask is, what is good on Netflix at the moment? Or have you read anything good lately? When someone gives you a recommendation, it is polite to write it down or acknowledge it. You can say, thanks, I will add it to my list, or good to know, I will check it out. To check it out is the universal phrasal verb for investigating or trying something. Sometimes, talking about the weekend involves discussing news events or viral moments. Maybe something happened in the news that everyone is talking about. You can start by saying, did you catch the news this weekend? Or did you see that video that went viral? This is a great way to start small talk if you do not know the person very well. It shifts the focus away from personal lives to a shared public topic. I want to give you a specific structure for agreeing with an opinion. If someone says, I thought that movie was boring, you can say, I couldn't agree more. This is a strong agreement. If you disagree, you can do it politely by saying, really? I actually quite enjoyed it. Using actually softens the disagreement. It signals that you have a different opinion, but you are not trying to be rude. Let us look at some adjectives that describe experiences specifically. If something was very strange, you can call it bizarre. I saw the most bizarre street performance this weekend. If something was very funny, remember we use hilarious. If something was scary, like a horror movie, you can say it was terrifying or it kept me on the edge of my seat. To be on the edge of your seat means you were full of suspense. If something was sad or emotional, usually in a good way, you can say it was touching or heartwarming. I watched a heartwarming video about a dog finding a home. Now, I want to challenge you to think about a recommendation you can make. Think of the last thing you enjoyed. Was it a podcast, a meal, a park? I want you to construct a sentence using one of the phrases we learned. For example, you have to listen to this podcast. It is fascinating. Or do not go to that park. It is a bit run down. Run down means in bad condition. Let us also address the concept of FOMO. This is an acronym for fear of missing out. It is very common in weekend conversations, especially regarding social media. You might say I had major FOMO looking at everyone's photos from the festival. It means you felt sad that you were not there. You can say I skipped the party, but then I got FOMO when I saw the stories on Instagram. This is very relatable modern English. Another aspect of sharing news is expressing happiness for others. If your friend tells you they got engaged or promoted over the weekend, you need strong, positive reactions. That is incredible news. Or I am over the moon for you. To be over the moon means to be extremely happy. If they tell you something simple like, I finally cleaned my garage, you can say profound job or that must feel good. Validation is a huge part of conversation. We speak to be heard and understood. Let us practice a Monday morning water cooler moment. The water cooler is the traditional place in an office where people chat. Colleague. Morning. How was your weekend? You. It was great, thanks. I finally saw that new exhibition at the museum. Colleague. Oh, I have been meaning to go. What was it like? You. It was fascinating, honestly. A bit crowded, but the art is mind-blowing. You should definitely go before it closes. Colleague. Thanks for the tip. I might go next Saturday. You? You should. Let me know what you think. Notice the phrase, I have been meaning to go. This uses the present perfect continuous to show an intention that started in the past and is still active. It is very common. I have been meaning to call you. I have been meaning to fix that. And the adjective mind-blowing means extremely impressive. As we move towards the end of this section, remember that being a good conversationalist is about generosity. When you share a recommendation, you are giving a gift. When you ask about someone else's news, you are giving them attention. These small exchanges build the fabric of friendship. The weekend is over and you are standing in the office or logging onto a Zoom call and you need to switch modes from casual friend to professional colleague. This transition is subtle but important, and having the right vocabulary can make you look eager, professional, and ready for success. Let us start with the attitude we bring to the new week. In English-speaking work cultures, there is often a value placed on energy and readiness on a Monday morning. Even if you are tired, it is usually better to project positivity. A great phrase to use when someone asks if you had a good weekend is, "Yes, it was great, thanks, and I am ready to hit the ground running." To hit the ground running is a dynamic idiom that means to start a new activity with energy and enthusiasm. It tells your boss or your team that you are not sleepy or slow, but that you are immediately effective. You might say, "I had a restful weekend, and now I am ready to tackle the week." To tackle means to deal with a difficult task with determination, like a football player tackles an opponent. However, we also need to be realistic. Sometimes Monday is hard. If you are speaking to a colleague you are close with, you can be a little more honest. You might say it was a lovely weekend, which makes it hard to get back into the swing of things. To get back into the swing of things means to get used to a routine again after a break. It is a very relatable sentiment. Or you can use the classic phrase, "back to the grind." We mentioned this in part 1, but it is worth repeating because it is the most common way to acknowledge that the fun is over and the work has begun. It is a shared complaint that actually builds solidarity with your coworkers. Let us talk about professional boundaries. When you are talking to your manager or a client about your weekend, you should filter your stories. We call this keeping it professional. You do not need to share that you had an argument with your partner or that you drank too much at a party. Instead, focus on the restorative aspects of your weekend. You can say it was very recharging, thanks. I spent some time outdoors. This is vague but positive. It shows you are a balanced person who takes care of themselves. If you did something productive like a course or reading a business book, definitely mention that. I actually read a really interesting book on time management this weekend. This subtly impresses your boss while answering the question. Now let us look at the grammar of the week ahead. We often use the future continuous to outline our workload. I will be focusing on the quarterly report this week. I will be meeting with the marketing team on Tuesday. This tense shows that you have a plan and you visualize yourself doing the work. It sounds more professional than "I am going to do the report." It implies a schedule and a flow. You can also use the phrase "catch up on." Mondays are often for catching up. I need to catch up on my emails this morning. I have a lot of admin to catch up on. This explains why you might be quiet or busy. One of the most difficult social skills is knowing how to end a conversation. You are chatting about the weekend near the coffee machine, but you have work to do. How do you walk away without being rude? You need a transition phrase that signals the end. A very common one is, right, I better get to it. The word right at the start of the sentence is a signal word. It draws a line under the conversation. Right, I better get to it. Or you can say, anyway, I better let you go. This is a very polite psychological trick. By saying I better let you go, you are acting like you are doing them a favor by ending the chat so they can get back to their important work, even if you are the one who wants to leave. It is very polite and effective. Another phrase is, I better crack on. To crack on is a British phrasal verb meaning to proceed with work quickly. Right, I better crack on with these reports. It shows you are diligent and hardworking. If you want to keep the social connection open, you can say, let us catch up properly later. This means let us stop talking now, but I promise to talk to you again when we have more time, perhaps at lunch. This ensures the other person does not feel rejected. I want to touch briefly on the Monday blues. This is a feeling of sadness that the weekend is over. If a colleague looks sad, you can say, you look like you have got a case of the Monday blues. Be careful with this, though, as you do not want to offend them. It is safer to say, hope your week is off to a good start. To be off to a good start is a positive wish. You can also ask, do you have a busy week ahead? This shifts the focus from the past weekend to the future work, which is a professional way to steer the conversation. Let us review the journey we have taken together in this script. We started by learning the basic answers like, it was low-key and I recharged my batteries. We learned how to describe hobbies with passion using words like gripping and exhilarating. We navigated the tricky waters of refusing invitations politely using the sandwich method. We learned to tell stories about disasters using the third conditional, if I had known. And finally, we learned how to gossip kindly and recommend hidden gems. This might seem like just a lot of vocabulary, but what we are really building here is confidence. Fluency is not about knowing every word in the dictionary. It is about having a toolkit of phrases that you can reach for automatically. When you do not have to search for the words, you can focus on the connection with the other person. That is the true goal of language learning. It is to connect, to understand, and to be understood. I want to give you a final challenge to take away from this series. For the next 4 Mondays, I want you to try a different strategy each week. Week 1, focus on adjectives. Do not just say good. Say relaxing, productive, or chaotic. Week 2, focus on details. Add one specific hook to your answer, like I went to that new Italian place. Week 3, focus on the other person. Ask them a follow-up question like, did you do anything special? Week 4, focus on the transition. Use a phrase like, back to the grind, or I better let you go. By breaking it down like this, you will master these skills without feeling overwhelmed. I also want to remind you that making mistakes is part of the process. If you say I was boring instead of I was bored, people might laugh, but they will understand what you mean. Do not let the fear of mistakes silence you. Your voice matters and your stories are worth telling. Every time you speak, you are getting stronger. English in Advance is more than just a channel name, it is a mindset. It means you are not satisfied with just getting by. You want to thrive. You want to express your personality, not just your basic needs. And by listening to this long script, you have proven that you have the dedication to achieve that. Thank you so incredibly much for spending your time with me, Jessica. It has been a pleasure to guide you through the intricacies of weekend conversation. I hope you feel ready to walk into your next social interaction with your head held high. If you found this series helpful, please consider sharing it with a friend or colleague who is also learning. Writing a script like this takes a lot of love and care, and your support means the world to us. Please leave a comment below and tell me which phrase from today was your favorite. Was it hidden gem? Was it hit the ground running? Or was it perhaps Sunday scaries? I read every single comment and I love hearing from you. Remember, language is a bridge between people. Go out there and build some bridges. Have a wonderful week, a fantastic weekend when it comes, and keep practicing your English. You are doing an amazing job. Goodbye for now, and I will see you in the next lesson.